Hello and welcome to what used to be money saving snow tips. This winter it's COVID saving snow tips. Loads of comments on the first episode about how to get out to the mountains this year. The first and biggest one to address though is that these tips are designed if restrictions drop. So please don't think about travelling against the advice of the Foreign Office. A couple of people saying it was deeply irresponsible encouraging this. These tips are designed to give you a bit of hope. I'd like to think of it as constructive hope. So if restrictions drop, you can go. So this week we're looking at accommodation. What do you do when you get out to resort? And the big debate here for me is whether you go with a big operator or one of the tourist offices and look for the security that you'll get with the insurance in case they go bust, or if anything happens with lockdown, self-isolation or developing symptoms, versus the last minute independent deals. So let's start with these big tour operators. The catered chalet deal is going to be very tricky this winter. Big operators like Crystal have already dropped out of that, and going into a catered chalet with different households or different groups is against UK guidance, but up until the lockdown it was allowed in France. So it's up to you. Personally, I wouldn't do it. But you go out and start looking for deals, and there are deals in the £200 range to La Plan and Andorra, and both of those include flights. So there are some insane deals out there if you want to roll the dice. The next thing to look out for is, of course, if you're going with those big operators, the terms and conditions that surround COVID. So fundamentally, you're looking for ATOL and ABTA insurance coverage in case the companies go bust. And then you want to look at how flexible they are and what the refund policies are around developing symptoms, isolation, and of course, lockdown. Most of the big operators are already over this, and the small ones are as well. I noticed that More Mountain in Morzine are doing really well with their offers, as are Chalet Chardon. And really interestingly, the Dragon Lodge in Teen they used to be a catered chalet. They've actually divided up the whole area of the chalet and turned it into self-catering apartments. And they're available for week rents, but they're actually encouraging people to go out and do seasons. So that's definitely one to think about. Next in, we've got the smaller operators. So, and I need to check this one out. Check with the operators what happens. Ask this question definitely. What happens if the restrictions change for one country, say in France, as they just have, so you potentially can be moved to Italy. If you're up for doing that, if it's a possibility, then obviously that's something that's going to act as a double layer of insurance, so you can actually get out there. Now we move on to the opposite side of it, the independents. If you don't want to go with one of those big operators where you book in advance, then the obvious thing to do is be more flexible and book later with the likes of Airbnb or Home Away. At the moment, Airbnb are offering refunds if you develop symptoms, but not if you have any kind of travel disruption or if the government or local restrictions change. So definitely look into that one. It's quite difficult. But for Home Away, they're saying that they can't actually force owners into giving refunds. So they're asking that the individuals offer those refunds, but it is very much up to the landlord rather than the company itself. So worth bearing that in mind. If you are looking at booking through Home Away, ask the owners 100%. And then that's the other thing to do, tourist offices directly. The resorts themselves run a whole heap of the accommodation. So if you go with them, you can actually guarantee all of the terms and conditions up front, and you'll know exactly what's happening in terms of anyone going bust. Finally, you know what to do. Get in the comments, share all of the intel and information you've got, because as a group collectively, your research is far more weighty than mine. And I owe an apology to Gregory Rose, whose Intersport tip I stole from the teaser at the start of this series. He very rightly pointed out that Intersport are giving away 50% discount, and that you can cancel up to the day of your arrival. So well worth looking into renting gear this year. Thanks for watching once again, and as always, all the information is in the text below. Cheers.